Oh, hello. Welcome back to the Faeries realm. It has been a minute since I made a video, so I'm really happy to be back. Well, you all know I love to start these videos with a little ritual to open the space. It's something that grounds me personally in my body and also opens the realm of creativity and imagination, because if we are here to create, let's go all the way, baby. So today I am going to be opening the space for the tincture. This one is called Ancient Heart by a beautiful woman-owned company named Gate and Garden. She's an herbalist and she has her own apothecary. I'll link her website. But this is a devotional elixir with cacao and rose and cinnamon and honey, and it's absolutely divine. So I'm going to start with a few drops of this on my tongue. And if you have any tinctures handy, I invite you to do the same. That is magic. The other thing I'd like to do before we get into today's creative process is to pull a card. So I have a tarot deck here, but there's a twist. As you know, I work with the fairies. The realm of the fairies is the realm of inspiration, intuition, ideas, imagination. So I've noticed that the more I make an intention to connect consciously with the fairy realm, they always blow my mind with the nectar that they send me back. So any small effort on our part to connect with the fairies is always met with open arms and returned double or triple. So it's well worth the effort to connect at the beginning of a creative project, to ask for their support, their help, to ask to tap into their frequency. So I have this book called The Voice of Faerie, Making Any Tarot Deck into an Elven Oracle. I've made a little cover for the book and some hand-dyed linen, just a little butterfly button on the front and a little string to wrap around for closure. This is a good example of the things I do around here. Why not make a beautiful linen cover for a special book? So this book helps turn any tarot deck into an oracle of the Fae. So let's see which card wants to jump out for us today. And I wouldn't be surprised if this card and this reading carries a message for you who is watching. Perhaps it's a confirmation, perhaps you're going through something in this moment and this is a message for you as well. I like to shuffle until I get a jumper. Feels like a very fairy way of working with the cards. Oh, okay, well, we got two. So we're going in. We have the Emperor from the Major Arcana. This card is an exclamation mark, a seal of fate and destiny. We cannot tell you how long it will take to happen. We can only promise that it will. Trust and your faith will be rewarded. Confirmation comes with this card. It is a positive response to the question at hand and represents a definite yes. Yes, with an exclamation mark. It contains the vow of the shining ones to fulfill their word and bond. I find it so interesting that this card jumped out, because what I'm seeing on the throne are these two ram's heads. And one of my recent creative projects is actually making these horned headpieces, which are very much inspired by the ram's horns. And you can wear them either way, facing forward or facing backwards. And well, yeah, I mean, now that we're having this conversation, I'm realizing that the next video will be the process of making these headpieces, because these were so fun to make, and I'd love to take you on that journey. Okay, let me just show you one more because it's so good. Ah, how fun is that? And these will be for sale on my website too. Shameless plug there. Okay, well, set that aside for a moment, but that card is perfect. That already just gave me my next video. Now, the second card that jumped out is this one, the Three of Swords. It's already giving me a lot of information because I have been feeling sword energy lately, big time, let me tell you. The Sword of Discernment. And I love the number 3. That feels really good. This is a card of attention. Are you listening? This card is an assurance that we mean what we say and do our best to give you the most accurate information available. We would never intentionally deceive you, but things do change from time to time. We love you. You are one of us. You are our elfin kin. This is a card of looking for the signs, looking for those omens of confirmation. So it feels like these really go together. The promise and the expectation of that promise being fulfilled. It also feels, this is a very ancient energy. This emperor on the throne is very ancient. And it's interesting that I started with opening the space with an ancient heart tincture. So we have ancient heart. We're seeing the signs already. The omens are here in the Elfin workshop. Okay, and with that, we are ready to dive in to what I'm working on today. So, I have this robe. It's a linen robe. I bought it many years ago from H&M. They had, or may still have, really good prices on 100% linen robes. They were like half the price or 1/3 of the price of all the other linen robes that I was looking at the time. So I scored a few years ago and ended up over dyeing with ice dye. So when I received this robe originally, it was a beige color, super boring beige color. And I knew I would be dyeing it when I bought it. And this one ended up pink, which is fun, and it's been great, and I've worn it like this. But now I'm looking to turn it into something much more than just a robe to wear around the house. I want to turn this into a coat of many colors, a colorful, crazy, patchworked statement piece. So here is the before. And you will be with me on my journey to meet the after. So I already sewed on a silk patch over the logo. So you guys know I do not like any logos or labels if I can help it. I didn't mind the part where it said stone-washed pure linen, but here it said H&M. So I covered that with a silk patch, over-dyed it, and now it's ready to be patchworked. Okay, the other couple things I've done to get it ready for today is I've removed the pockets. So I just seam ripped the pockets off. There were 2 patch pockets on the front. And I'll set these aside because I'll put these on at the end. But in the meantime, they've been removed. Also, I opened up the side, the whole entire side. So I just cut, actually, I didn't even seam rip. I literally just cut the whole side seam down the side. So now it's completely open on both sides. And what this enables me to do is basically have it be laid flat, and I can get into all the nooks and crannies like right under the arm. It's all now just open. And this will make it really easy to add on all of my patches. So the impetus for this project is really a way to use scraps, because nothing goes to waste around here. And that is the other thing that the fairies are very, very adamant on. Nothing ever goes to waste. Everything can be alchemized. Everything can be decomposed, repurposed, absorbed, and rebirthed. So I do a lot of sewing projects and end up with lots of scraps. And what I try to do every so often is go through the piles and piles of scraps and process them, get them ready for repurpose and reuse. So that looks like cutting nice little squares. A lot of scraps that I end up with are odd shapes and kind of these long straggly pieces or these edges of things. And that's not really in a state where they're ready to be used. That's like, I'm gonna have to do some more work when I get to use those scraps. But if I go ahead and prepare a whole pile of scraps for myself, then I'm more likely to pick up one of these projects and get to put the scraps into play. So this is not a typical project that I do necessarily, because this will be very time consuming, but I'm willing to have this be a project that kind of runs in the background, so to speak. So I may pick up other upcycling projects in the meantime that are a little more instant gratification, we might say, something I can finish in a day or an afternoon, which I love. That gives me a lot of joy and energy when I can make a whole creation in one day. This is not going to be a one-day project at all. I believe this will probably take me weeks, but I also won't be sewing this all day long. This is something I'll pick up between projects and work on for an hour here or an hour there. It's a very repetitive process because I'm just going to be adding squares and rectangles all over the surface. Every inch of this robe will be covered in patches. And my personal thing is that if I were to do exclusively that for a whole day, it would get too monotonous for me. So I have to switch it up and work on several projects in a day, but this will be something that I pick up and put down, and at the end of, well, who knows how long, at the end of an amount of time, this will be finished and I'll get to share the result with you. But I wanted to document the process. I am known for just starting a project and forgetting to film it, and I'm halfway done before I even think to film it, and then I've missed out on showing the true before. So here we are, slowing things down, connecting with the fairies, connecting with our ancient hearts, and just sharing this creative process together. So speaking of process, I've gone ahead and processed a bunch of scraps into these nice little piles, and they're kind of grouped by size. So I have like a pile of bigger scraps and medium ones, and then the smaller pieces. So here's the thing. You could probably choose a color scheme. If you wanted a patchworked jacket, coat, robe in a certain color scheme, you could find fabrics in those colors. For instance, maybe you want all neutrals, so you find the camels and the browns and the greens and the beige, and that would look really, really cool. But to be honest, I am not organized enough for that. I just have random piles of scraps and they're all colors. So to me, the beauty of this particular jacket is that I am not trying to contrive or control the color palette in any way. I'm quite simply letting the patches that I have set the tone. I'm not going to control where they're placed, other than setting the sizes to cover all spaces on the jacket, I'm not going to worry too much about which one goes where. Kind of like a crazy quilt, I guess it's called. The crazier the better in my book. So yeah, like, do all of these colors go together? I don't know. But you know what? When you take something to the extreme, it always seems to work out. So since there are so many colors and patterns and there's no rhyme or reason, I actually think that's going to become the thing that's really cool about it. So while you could do this in a color scheme, I am not picking a color scheme. And yeah, I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'm excited about it. So what else can I tell you before I start here? I think I'll start at the bottom, at the hem, and work my way up. That just feels good. Okay, a note on stitching. So some of these scraps I know will fray really well. For instance, any of the cottons or linens, or a canvas like this, which has a lot of texture, or a linen like this. As you can see, this edge is already frayed, and after I wash it, all sides will get like that. So I actually want the fray because I'm going to be leaving all the edges raw. So when I come to a piece of fabric that I know will fray really well, I'm going to do a straight stitch to attach that to the robe. And I'll come down a 1/4 inch or even a 1/2 inch if I want a lot of fray. So I'll sew a box inside and leave it raw on all sides. However, I also have some scraps here which may not fray very well, or even maybe, okay, something like this. It's a little beaded piece. And if I leave this all raw edge, I'm worried that I'm gonna lose these beads or that it just won't fray very nicely. So in this case, I'm gonna do a zigzag stitch all around right on the edge. So that will contain the edges and I won't lose anything. Also, the zigzag looks really cool. So if I get to a color, for instance, or a solid color like this, and I think that a zigzag would provide pattern, since this is not a printed fabric, I may do a zigzag as a design element. Whereas if there's already a print, the zigzag might get lost or be not less needed. The zigzag would look really cool over a stripe. So that's it. And then I'm setting my machine up with 1 thread color. And I may change it if I'm changing it for other projects, but I'm not going to change it for this project, meaning I am going to pick up this patchwork project at any moment using a thread that's on my machine. I'm not going to try to match colors. I'm going for the crazy look anyway, and I like the contrast. So actually, I don't usually match my thread to really any project I do. So yeah, I have some blue on my machine right now, which will look pretty cool. And I'll start with that. Black thread would also look really cool. I sew a lot with black, so I'm sure some black thread will make its way into this in the process. And then at the end, I'll think about how to finish maybe the collar and the cuffs, maybe do some lace or a panel on the inside so that if I fold the sleeve up, I'll get a contrast panel. But all those details I would do at the end. For now, I'm just going to lay down some of my first patches and officially start this project that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And this piece will be for me. I may create some of these someday to sell or to share. I have made one as a gift, but this one is going to be for me. So it's always kind of fun to work on something if I know it's for me. A lot of the things I sew, I do not end up keeping. I sell them or share them, and sometimes I end up keeping a piece, but I didn't necessarily know when I was making it that I would keep it. It just happened in the end that I kept it. But this one, from the beginning, I know it's for me, so it feels like a gift to myself. because this is going to take some time. So ultimately, I'm giving myself the gift of time and the gift of a creative project that can run alongside me as I continue to do many other projects at the same time. And I'm excited to show you how it turns out. Oh, and I almost forgot to say, at the end, when it's all patchworked, I will put it in the washing machine and then put it in the dryer. And that is also a very big part of my process. Anything that I do with upcycling, I like to wash and dry it because I leave raw edges, and the washer and dryer helps to fray all the fabrics. And usually the first wash and the first dry will produce the most fraying that you'll ever get. And then, which you'll see, I'll share the process, I have to give the garment a haircut because it's pretty crazy when it first comes out. But that for me is really fun. I really enjoy the process of like cutting all the extra threads off. I don't cut them all off. I really leave a lot, but I like to decide how much to leave and where to leave it for that perfect balance of frayed, but not too frayed. So that will be part of this process. I think it's gonna look pretty cool when it's patchworked as is. But then once I put it in the wash and dryer, it's gonna take on more texture, more dimension, and become way cooler. So if you're doing any projects with raw edges, just know washing and drying it will change the effect, will heighten the fraying, and you can always give it a trim and decide how much fraying you want to keep, but it really elevates the fraying, in my humble opinion. So that will be a part of the process as well. So I've been sewing for about 30 minutes, and here's where I'm at. So you saw when I first started sewing, I wasn't pinning these ones on the bottom because I had the edge to work with. But as I moved up the robe, I started pinning because I do want to sort of keep these straight, and that got harder to do without pins. So pin as much as you need or as little as you need. I really don't pin unless I absolutely have to. So, you know, a couple pins will go a long way though when you do need it. So I'm excited to keep going on this. And you know, I was thinking this would be a really good project if you had some synthetic scraps to use in a wearable way, because me personally, I don't love wearing synthetics against my skin if I can help it. So by attaching synthetics to something like linen or cotton, where this part goes against your skin, you could really patchwork anything on the outside just for the color and the texture of it. So this could be a really good way to use up synthetic scraps and not have to have them against your skin. And actually, case in point, I recently thrifted this really fun leotard. It was a dance costume, and you know, it's so sparkly and I love it, but it's scratchy, and this is not something that I would wear. I feel bad for whatever dancer was wearing this costume because that's pretty scratchy while you're dancing. But I am going to cut this up into patches and work this into the patchworking. So I'm very excited to have some shimmer as well as all the colors. I think that'll be really fun. So I'm going to go ahead and share this video. We'll call this part 1 of this rainbow robe. There'll probably be 3 parts. I'll give you a check-in in the middle and towards the end of the garment to let you know how it's going. And then I'll do a final part where I show you the washing, the drying, the haircut process, and the very end result and any trim or final details that I add. So this will be part 1 of 3. Thank you for being on this journey with me, as always. And until next time, sending you lots of fairy blessings.